Vamos então dar início à nossa sessão número 8, que é dedicada, é um painel de debate. Vamos falar um pouquinho sobre o futuro das bibliotecas. Tenho comigo a doutora Marci Merola. I didn't ask if it's the right pronounce. E o professor Carlos Lopes. Vou passar a apresentar a Marci, vou fazê-lo em inglês. Marci is the director of the Office for Library Advocacy at the Chicago-based American Library Association, ALA's newest office, which focuses on providing advocacy resources and tools to libraries at the state and the local levels. She works to educate members and citizens on current issues and the importance of libraries, as well as integrating advocacy efforts through the association. Marci came to ALA in 2001 as the advocacy specialist within the ALA Public Information Office. Before joining ALA, Marci worked as a freelance writer in the non-for-profit sector and a writer and editor for a variety of publishing firms. Marci has a master's in library science from Dominican University. She has a Bachelor of Arts in English and journalism from Northern Illinois University. Marci, please.
Bom dia. Can you hear me? There's a step right here. If I go down, you won't see me. If the presentation gets bad, I'll just hide under the table. Okay, this is weird. Okay, good morning. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm so honored to be in Portugal giving this presentation, and I want to especially thank Sylvia and Maria, who I don't know where she went, but for all their work and everybody else who worked to get me here. And I want to thank Ruta Oliveira. That's a good name, good pronunciation. She stopped me on the street in Évora one day when I was there for the BOD conference in October and said, what can I do? How do I advocate? How can we advocate for healthcare libraries and healthcare librarians? And at the time I said, I don't know. I was standing on the street. It was sunny. We had just gone through this whole day. I was like, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. That's a challenge for me, is what I said to you. So, but now I'm ready. But I have another challenge because I have only 25, 30 minutes to tell you everything I know and everything I've learned at ALA in the past 15 years about library advocacy and what librarians in the United States are still struggling with and still trying to understand how to do. But we are going to do it. My goal is by the end of this session, you will have the beginnings of an advocacy plan that you can take back to your library and get started. So a little bit of background, as Sylvia said, I began at ALA in 2001, and I'm a librarian now. I have my degree now, but I did not back then. And my background is in writing and journalism and communications. And I'm telling you because that's really what advocacy is. It's communicating to people. It's telling your story, and like all good writing, like all good journalism, writing in a language and using a vocabulary that makes sense to your listeners, that your listeners can understand. So just a little information about health science and medical libraries in the U.S. I got this information from the Medical Library Association. That is an association that is an affiliate of ALA. It operates completely separate, but we communicate with one another. The Medical Library Association in the U.S. has 3,500 members, and ALA has like 60,000 members in public school, academic, and special libraries. Here's a little more information. So healthcare in the States is growing, as I'm sure it is here and everywhere in the world, as life expectancy grows and so forth. Yet librarian jobs were going down. And that trend is going to continue in the U.S. until 2020, according to the Medical Library Association. But they expect it to kind of grow again with when the demand for electronic information increases, which we can argue is happening right now. These are some of the current issues: economic difficulties, the landscape in healthcare is changing, and there's plenty of mergers of institutions, organizations, corporations, and that trickles down to libraries. But no matter what kind of library you work in, I think the problems are all, no matter how different the streams of funding are, the problems are all the same. We need to better articulate our need and our value to the people that we serve and to the people that are in charge of our purses, of our budgets, in our libraries, and let's face it, our livelihoods, right? Our jobs. Health libraries in the U.S. are experiencing a lot of issues, yet what health librarians do remains constant. They teach doctors, you teach doctors and health professionals how to access information, how to evaluate. Maybe you're helping patients in some cases, certainly students. Maybe you're doing community outreach in different situations, as well as organizing information on websites and digital archives. So I think there are probably many similarities across the world, and certainly in the U.S. As to Portugal. So a little bit, so that's all happening, but how many people in your organization, how many of your colleagues really know what goes into your job? You know, they know you work at the library, they know you're involved in the health field, but what do they know about what you really do provide, the value that you provide, and how can you better articulate this? Which brings us to sort of some background about advocacy. What is advocacy? I think it really is about articulating that need and the value and telling the story, but doing it in a strategic way and to the right people at the right time. Strategic meaning knowing your message, having everyone saying the same thing. Right people meaning decision makers, people that are in charge of your budget, your supervisors, and then at the right time, which is now, not waiting until there's a crisis in your library, not waiting until you need to ask for something, but developing those relationships now, so when there is a crisis, you're ready. So how do we define advocacy? You know, it's a weird word. I think it's a very American word. I don't think it translates in many languages. But even in the U.S., we struggle with what that means. You know, the dictionary will tell you it's to articulate the need and value, or to champion something, to defend a cause, like a lawyer does, avocado. But the definition that we like to use at ALA is to turn passive support into educated action by stakeholders. So everybody, of course, loves the library. They appreciate what you do, sort of, maybe, but not in a very active way. So how do we turn that passive support into educated action? How do you make them stand up for you, and how can you persuade them to take up your cause? Sometimes advocacy is confused with public awareness. We define public awareness as efforts to inform a given public about a particular issue or idea. I think of public awareness as sort of the foundation of advocacy. You can't have anybody support you if they don't know what you do or that you exist. So it's a very important part of it. Lobbying, on the other hand, is talking to decision makers about a very specific issue. In the public sector, public library sector, it would be about getting a bill passed or getting a budget increase. In your case, it would be budget or services or hours or something like that. But advocacy is kind of in the middle. It kind of bridges those two. I think of it as building relationships with key people, educating them, getting their support before you get to that lobbying level. So how do you motivate them? how do you get them to stand up for you when you need help? I think the quick answer is you have to convince them that the library is important and indispensable. Again, articulating the need and value. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again. They say it, you have to hear something like 10 times before it sticks with you, so you will hear it 10 times from me today. And I really think that advocacy this kind of stuff has to be part of your everyday life. Every conversation about your library, whether in work or outside, has to be talking about what you do. I mean, I'm sure if you think about your families and your friends, they all know that where you work and what you do, but they don't really understand the kind of value you bring to the place, your institution. You know, my friends, I don't think half of them understand what I do at the ALA, or half of them think I work at the library. You know, it's very hard, I think, to get. You know, we don't really talk about our jobs and our day-to-day life in a big overarching way. We don't articulate our value as much as we should, I think. So, I'm sure you've heard of Somos Bibliotecas, BOD's new public awareness campaign, which is amazing. ALA has also launched a new campaign called Libraries Transform that talks about how libraries are transforming, of all types, are transforming the people's lives, the communities they serve, how the libraries themselves are transforming, how librarians are transforming to meet up with technology. These because statements are sort of our new little campaign that we're sending out the key messages. This is what the National Library Association is doing. I'm sorry, Medical Library Association is doing during their during October, which is National Medical Librarians Month. They've got a series of these posters. I don't know if any of you have seen them. I think they're great. They have them available for sale. You can download things for free, download bookmarks and stuff for free. Here's another one. Are you a risk taker? And then your ultimate search engine, I think they borrowed that from us, from ALA, from our last campaign. It was one of our taglines there. Another thing the Medical Library Association is doing, which is way ahead of ALA, is to create professional competencies for health science librarians that they convey to their decision makers, that these are their standards for what health science librarians do. I'm telling you, ALA, our new president that comes in September is just beginning to work on these things. So good for MLA for being so far ahead, but I think they're really important. Here's the rest. So, a public awareness campaign, these kind of competencies, that has to be established kind of at the top level, right? Either by Optish or by your institution. Your decision makers have to agree to do this public awareness campaign, or these are sort of top-down things. So what if you're not at that point? What does that mean? I think there's still a lot you can do, even if if you're not at this kind of level. So I want to talk to you next about, what can you do in the meantime? And that, I think what you can do is get together an advocacy plan for your library. First, to get anything accomplished, you need sort of an organized, systematic plan. So I've got 10 steps and probably 15 minutes. So I will try to be fast. So we will definitely share the PowerPoint with this group, and I have supplemental information that I'll pull together and email to you, but feel free to take notes or whatever. So some of this, here we go, 10 steps to an advocacy plan. So the first step, get a team together. You can't do this kind of work alone, and you need everyone to be on the same page. And the number one person you need to have on your same page is your supervisor or your boss, right? No matter where you work, what you do, the best thing you can do is not surprise your boss, I think. So be sure you kind of have their tacit consensus that you want to engage in this kind of work. So what does that mean? Of course, you're not going to tell them that you want to start a revolution and you're going to start this huge advocacy campaign. I don't think that will go over so well. But you can tell them that you want to do some things that will improve communication and with your patrons or with people that come to your library. You want to do something that will promote the value of the library, that will help improve services. You might so it's not exactly a revolution in a big sense, but what you really want to do is sort of start revolutionizing the way people are thinking about the library. So it's a little more subtle, a little more subversive. So get your boss on board, but then recruit others who are interested in your library, other people on your staff, other people, colleagues that you work with, other members, library users, other professionals, the people in your immediate network. You need to work with more. You need more than just one person. Maybe you start with a very small team, but I think it's important to have a partner at least. So once you've got some people to work with, I think it's time to really think about, evaluate your library. Do an environmental scan, find out what's working critically in your library and what's not working. Do you do this, the SWOT analysis? Okay. So we can make this apply to libraries. I tried translating. I hope I did an okay job. So the strength of your libraries. How does your library contribute to your institution's success? What does it provide that is unique or special? What do your colleagues and patrons like best about the library? Weaknesses, in what areas does your library have fewer resources? What else needs improvement? What do other people say about you? What do people wish you could do better? And then opportunities, what